Welcome to On Writing with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We seek to restore pride and dignity of Africans through the power of reading and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Onkarabile Mokoto and I am your host. Please don't forget to subscribe, to share online as we are starting our conversation with my beloved, my favorite. Yes. Sis Gontse, thank you so much for coming again on our show. Thank you so much for always, honoring our invite when we need you.
I have to.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We spoke a lot last time when you were here about the love of reading. You are a reader yourself, and you spoke a mouthful, stuff when you're here. And I remember I said, I wish we can have you again.
Yes.
And thank God the platform is here, And today I want us to talk about, many people are busy. They don't have time to read, I want us to talk about making time to read, in a busy schedule that everyone is having. How do we maneuver around?
It's a very interesting question. To tell the truth, we are busy with busyness.
Yeah.
Business is feeding our soul, our mind, our hearts. That does not enrich who we are, what we are from inside on. So re kgona ba busy for batho ba bang, for di tšhelete, for di eng. It's like being busy and neglecting your body. Soul food. You can have time for friends, you can have time for other things, but you cannot have time for yourself and your own peace. I think right now, we're at a point where we must always have time alone with yourself so that you can talk to your spirit. You can talk to, if you believe in God. If you believe in ancestors, angels, whatever you believe in. But you always have to have a quiet space where you can be with yourself and connect with yourself so that you can think through things properly. Uli one. Like there's a lot of information also from the universe, or from Mudim, or from the creator, whoever, whatever higher presence that you believe in. Reading is like that. Reading is time by yourself, getting information from another source, going through that information by yourself, learning, understanding. I believe in ancestors, so I do believe usually it's because and I think I said it last time.
Yes, yeah.
How I got into Paulo Coelho was that
yes.
every time something happened in my life that was very tough, I always found a Paulo Coelho book. And that's how I ended up with a bulk of his because the alchemist would say something. By the River Pedro would say something. Veronica decides to die. Says something about my life. So it was a form of rehabilitation because sometimes I cannot talk to the next person. Sometimes I feel like so botoka kinke buka. And then it's like writing. If you write what you feel, you need to write by yourself in a space with yourself where it's quiet, where you can focus on your thoughts and release all your emotions. You can cry as much, or to interfere with that process. It's a very intimate, spiritual, important process. So is reading.
So, the reason people cannot really give themselves time to read, they don't see that importance of reading. Like you said, they are busy with other things. But when it comes to reading, they take it as if I seem to air, I don't bother that much. One person said, even if Ogasia, 1,000 mubuking, and then you leave for a month, when you come back, you're going to find it. Because...
Yeah. true.
She cannot go to that book and read it. So is it really the issue of time that people don't have time, or is it the issue of people don't see the importance of reading?
I think it's just the culture of reading is something that, it's funny because back in the days, I think maybe I might have told the story the last time. Back in the days, I would find bontate babanzi, maybe the 80s. Never thought about the newspaper. A newspaper is something very popular.
Yes.
I mean, right now, a newspaper is not as popular because of social media. I mean, we can get the news just on your phone quickly,
Yeah.
But I think it's the culture of reading. I think with, I think I'm going ahead on myself, but my sister is a reader, or was a reader, she's a social worker. So, library. So if you don't grow up with that culture of reading a newspaper, reading or going to the library as a child, or back in the days, primary school used to come and dramatize these beautiful stories about Nolu and the lion, and that's what fascinated me, because it was, yes, a form of escapism, but it was also my imagination, my curiosity. Stories are like my brain worked. So I think the issue is that it has to start from being a child. It's not something that is pushed in schools as much. Like, I'll tell you one thing about going to multiracial schools, which is the problem with the system of education not changing in the township schools for Africans, unfortunately, is because we still don't have initiatives where they take artists like getting other artists or young people to have a group and look at stories like Maru, by Bessie Head.
Yes.
And we reenact that. And we take it to primary schools, or we get already folk stories, Tabo, Tsilani. I mean, those are important stories that used to teach kids about not opening up doors for strangers. And
I'm glad you're mentioning this, because my next guest, actually, we are going to talk about storytelling for kids.
Yes.
So she's a storyteller for kids. So I'm glad that you are raising
I love
this.
storytelling.
Yeah. And one of the things that we are going to discuss is the issue of, like you're saying, role play, because that's what I'm concerned about, that, there's no more those role play,
No.
we just read stories for kids, but bring the people, especially people that kids that I look up to. They can play those.
We can.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's an initiative that because ke bona ko di multiracial school
Yeah.
I guess I bona ko dikolong tsa mokasi, dikolong tsa botaki till today, and look how far we have come, with this so-called democracy, but we still don't have something as simple as the culture of reading. We still those buses around inside the buka, like acting out, because it's creating that fascination, that world. Now, because of technology, now they quickly run to the Popeye. The Popeye are not gonna put that culture of reading into a child, because it's nice if you reenact a story, dramatize it, and then you have the actual book. So one thing that I did, that I think my sister taught me, but I did it to my own daughter. Now my daughter, every night, I go to bed with her. I put her into bed. I take out a storybook. I asked her which story she wants to read, and I read to her.
Can we just pause it a little bit? We are just going for a short break.
No problem.
Then when we come back, we'll continue with this discussion.
Sure.
We will be back shortly. Stay tuned.
The Creative Corner with Nolu Knowles, a cozy and inspiring show that features interviews with artists, showcases their work, challenges, and successes. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on Share Radio. tune in live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. This is Share Radio.
Welcome back to On Writing with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in our communities. We seek to restore pride and dignity of Africans through the power of reading and writing. We are still having Gontse Ntshagang on our show today, talking about making time to read. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Gontse Ntshagang is an actress, one of our well-known and successful actress. Right now, actor ku Skim Sam Gontse. Yes, Skim Sam as Sergeant Ratebe. Ba le ba go tlhoileng ba go batle.
Au hape ke motho a molao.
Ba go tlhoile motho a molao o corrupt.
Go thata ka fela.
Corruption. Let's talk about more stupid thing. You were explaining.
Yeah, I was explaining about how now what I did is, and this was part of teaching my child, Lina la ge ke go siame. Gore go siame a ithute go rata go bala le go ithuta go bala. So one thing, and I want on TikTok now they have it. So something like sit, ne ke tla re sit, sit, or like ne ke di peleta. So then ha ke peleta a shebile, and then ebe ke bala. And then there's a fascination with storytelling also. So that's why reading to a child is very important, because she developed the love of reading and of storytelling through that. Also, one thing we also forget, it's a point that you just said right now. Rona, we still have to understand if arena therapy and arena cheleta gore lo bona di therapist di do tsotlhe, and to talk about our realities. That's what made hip hop. That's what made all these kind of music genres. It's writing down your emotions, writing down your thoughts. That's how people write poems. That's how you get poets. That's how you get publishers of books. That's how you get playwrights. Wherever I live, Orlando West, every day, that if I can't deal with that stuff that's happening around my environment, outlet that I can be to write and go back and read. It is so amazing the power that we have to heal ourselves, because it's also part of healing. That's how you can get a healer. You can be healed through a book by reading it or by writing it. And the one thing we must understand, writing, free writing is not about being perfect. It's not about sentence structure. It's not about probability.
Yes.
You're trying to whatever's coming out of your mind. That's also part of writing. That's creativity. So we must respect such things and honor them.
Let's talk about, you mentioned something very important, the school system, and I mean, we have to agree that it's not doing enough. But I want to understand, maybe if it can be your encouragement. A lot of people, when they are at school, I think more emphasis is been done on academics type of reading, And when a person acquires certain qualification or certificate, then they are done when it comes to reading. I remember when I was doing grade 12, we were so happy when we were writing the last exam. We say, hey, books, we are done with books. Pens down, you understand? But then how is it important that reading must not stop when you stop schooling?
Now, this is very interesting because Gontse a course, entrepreneurship. And it was so interesting when I did it, because our teacher, lecturer, a wonderful woman, Pushia, well, she's not Makoke, I forgot her surname, but she said, you know, if you want to know, like, after high school, ke batla go itse gore law ke eng. I care about ke batla study law, but I have to understand what is it. What is it? What does it entail? How many different types of laws? There's corporate law, there's criminal law, there's family law, you know, there's indigenous law. There's so many different kinds of laws. Being a doctor, you can be a brain surgeon, you can be a heart surgeon specializing, or you can be just a general GP, you can be a pediatrician. Like, there's so many things. You have to read on that. Otherwise, how are you going to know gore ke that? Gore ke be lawyer, gore ke be a teacher. What kind of teacher do I want to teach? Bana ba ko primary, ba ko high school, ba ko university. Do I want to provide skills development? What does that mean? Education, training and development day. What does that mean? What is a CETA? What is the acronyms? What is GDP? What is Gauteng education? What education?
GDE.
Yeah, GD. You know what are all these acronyms? What are all these words? You have to read in order to understand those things. It's not just about mathematics. Every single thing in life. Because you know, there's nothing more embarrassing than go fitla sa mo bare nna ke batla go etsa law. Oh, okay. But what would you like to specialize in? What are articles? You have to know these things. And if you do not know, if you do not read about information is reading. That's one thing we don't understand. Access to information is reading that information.
Yeah.
Wonderful thing, renan technology. Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you want to know,
Yeah,
Google.
Yeah.
And then after you Google, you do what?
Read.
You read what Google has said,
Yeah.
so that you better understand it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If you don't, information. Hey, wait, so. You must read, and then you must read to understand that which is more important. To read to understand, not to read just. Because the difference is, but reading can be intimidating for other people because it's not something that they do it every day. So it can seem very intimidating. So you almost alienate yourself or ostracize yourself against reading because you don't read to understand. You just read to be like, criminal law, yeah.
and that's where I'm coming in again. Like most of the time when, especially at school, we are reading to or studying to pass.
Yes.
You know, what is the danger of that? Because rakrema, you know, cut and paste, you know. But danger e kukai mo gore o ska wa balla go itse o balle go pasa.
I'll tell you one thing, and na I boy for na gore ke faile ko primary. And for me to not understand skolo, I didn't understand skolo. I must tell you something. I didn't understand what I'm talking about classroom mistress o bula. Little what tena ba di bua next time na gore ke eng.
Okay.
Next time why am I studying all these things? I only started to understand these things maybe I fitla ko high school. Like dilo tse tshwana le biology. I fell in love with biology and anatomy because
I hated biology.
I loved it because for once in my life I could understand that so my lungs, they do this lungs. I can reading must always be relatable, and that's what's the problem for me with education. Because I don't want to lie. From primary school, I can't edit more than anything than ulungwana. We cannot go to classroom. We let's bana ba bangata. O sa tsebe gore why me ona I me mo tona a tsare. 1 + 1 is 2. Or like, why don't you get 1 + 1? How relevant it is. We always need context, and that's the thing with our education system, that we don't have context, and we don't have things that relate to me. Education is important. I know I'm saying that's something, maybe this in the future, this thing, but education for me is something that needs to really be reevaluated, because it needs to be relevant to a child. Ha ngwana a gola, ngwana tshwantse a tsebe gore like nna I would have really loved if my education was more on understanding the arts and colors, and because that's me.
I want us to continue about that, reading as relevant or relatable when you come out from the short break. Because time is flying. It's flying so fast. Can you please just go for a short break, then we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to On Writing with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities. We are still having Gontse Ntshagang, aka Sergeant Ratebe ku scheme sami. Reading as relatable, let's talk about that. Let's continue on that, because you mentioned something very important that I think the school system, maybe sometimes our teachers, I don't know if maybe there's no passion, or is what they have been also trained like that. Please, let's just continue on that.
I think system ya education from Kale, nearly a hori 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 3.
Yeah.
Why it's an akai.
Yeah.
And then I meet people right now who, like the father of my child, who'll tell me he's in love with mathematics. There's numbers everywhere. And I'm like, what? But because he understands what he's talking about and he can relate to it, and I can't. Because I can't the numbers still today. I'm like, okay, maybe for Chele, but I can understand how the number young in building a set. I had to learn how to build a small scale set. Generation those are sets. They build them on a big scale inside a studio. Building. I see building. Now I had to learn scale model. Scale model in we use a scale so that you can build a small a model, and then from that small model you get back to the big model. But that needs maths and measuring. Do you know how you see how important it is even in my industry? Even in my industry, because wardrobe people Onkarabile wa size mang, measurements, and those are still important things. Those are things that still have to do with mathematics, but how does it relate to my industry? Those are things that are important.
So, but what can be done, according to you? Because really, I mean, and I like there's this new system in education called outcome-based education.
Yeah.
And I think that one, for me, because when it was introduced, I think I was doing grade 7 when it was introduced. And I think I like the concept you're saying, because like what we spoke earlier, it gives a room for kids to ask questions. It gives a room for kids to reason. Like you said, in the olden times, you didn't have right to ask a teacher a question. You were just have to follow what you are being told. Even if you see or no, but now I think I'm not a teacher. I'm still young, but I think this thing has not so you're not allowed. Exactly, you understand. But now, what must be done?
You see, I don't have the solutions, but one thing I do know is when I looked back at it and I saw most of our teachers still had inherited the apartheid way of us being taught. So teachers themselves would need to be retaught on how to deal with a new generation of young people that are coming in who are very intelligent.
Yes,
If I'll tell you
exactly.
something about
Yes.
Banabano.
Yeah.
Banaba are so intelligent. They ask questions. They've got technology. They know more than
They
you
even
do.
correct you.
They even correct
Yes,
you.
yes.
So you're going to have to get people who are be able to understand that they are not the boss of those kids, but they are partners in learning. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like mediators. Teachers are going to have to understand that they become more mediators than teachers, where they have to understand that teaching is a two-way thing now. You can learn more from the child, and the child can learn more from you.
Yes.
So they and then you give back exactly what I gave you. It's not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So our teachers need to be retrained to understand the kind of kids they're dealing with, the kind of education and learning processes that are, have to come into the system right now. I mean, for me, it still upsets me. I can't believe in 2024, I went to an art school. There still aren't as many art schools. I went to a school where there's academic, where I'm learning the academic and I'm learning the arts. That's a beautiful balance in a person's body and in life. You have to understand your world because you're political in your world as your political body. You have to understand the workings of society, sociology, anthropology. Those are things that should be taught still in primary school, not in varsity.
And I enjoyed sociology when I was at school. I said, this is so nice.
So
if only I knew I was going to do it as a course.
Exactly. If I knew that there are, right now on TikTok, I'm seeing wonderful African writers. I mean, I started reading about Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, African storytelling is amazing. It talks about us, our history, our experience. Also, we need to get more into that. I think, yes, we've got the Western side of life, but how's about we learn about us, about cosmology, Africa, our star systems, how they work, the rocks, there's so much knowledge in Africa alone about even they're talking about architecture of our houses in Africa historically, how those bee huts that we, the Zulus and other tribes, how they are good for winter and for summer, how they help with the environment, ecosystem. All those things are what we must be learning. We must be learning about the world we live in, not things that have nothing to do with us and things that are not going to help us in the future.
I was going to say, because time is flying, I don't want us to finish without what's a question. This one I must ask you.
Yes.
We're talking about reading, especially related with our areas of life. We must not just maybe or look at reading in one side, but it must actually even cover or relate our areas of life. You are in acting industry, and we have seen lately, not good story. We have had not good stories about some of actors, who are not doing good in life. They were good, but things are not going well. I want to know how reading maybe is playing a role here. Because if it was in music, I was going to say it's because of not studying music contracts or reading music contracts very well. So I want to know does it also happen maybe in the acting industry where you guys have contracts where maybe people don't read contracts, they don't understand contracts, or they just sign because of, please share with us.
Yeah, it happens across the board in all disciplines, actually. But because you're asking about this industry, it's quite right, contracts. Now, that's the thing about having an agent. I know people, but the agent, the percentage, I mean, they are doing the work. Having an agent is so nice because at least you've got someone who actually has the time to read your contract. Because sometimes you remember contract with a window period is smaller and you're busy with other stuff and you don't have time to read that contract fully. But one thing I'll tell you, well, how my agent works, my agent will send me the contract and say, no, I have read the contract, her as my agent, and then Arwena Ibali. Now, let me tell you how difficult it is to read a contract. One thing, my daughter used to struggle with this, and I saw with a lot of kids that I used to talk to about reading. In primary school, where every time we read, we had a dictionary. Dictionary, now, the nice thing, you don't even have to have a book of a dictionary. You just Google. You can have dictionary app on your phone.
Yes.
Because the jargon, the language that is used in contracts, the lawyer, you know, part of it's already ad hoc, what, you know,
clause,
you know, so that's very important for you to also get accustomed to. Policies, the only way we can even change because this is what I actually want to go and study further. Because it's important for our industry, for our people to know how to, and this is the gatekeeping that that politically has been, you know, policy. How do you change policy? The gazette, the government gazette, how do you access them? If things change, the bill that's being contested by parents, you know, we need to know those things in order to know what's happening in our world, how these things affect us. You know, how is it that we still don't get royalties? If you are in a certain soap, how do I get my royalties? You only know that if you know go arts and culture, the white paper in arts and culture, you know, those things. And it shouldn't be university, because not all of us has access to a university. No. Right now, you can Google the white paper, arts and culture, and the red paper on this and the yellow paper on that and whatever and you can find out the information and have a dictionary and go through it. Because unfortunately, even let me tell you, it is so deep. We can't even. One hour artists are not working. It's because some artists still don't even know National Arts Council every semester or every season they've got the proposals for submission for projects. If you have a project and you don't even have to have a registered company, you can actually apply as yourself, as an individual artist, as long as you're working in the industry. But for you have to read any National Arts Council, Arts and Culture, all these different departments. How can you get funding? What is the criteria for you to get funding? Reading.
So you are saying reading must never stop, even if schooling has stopped or whatever. What the system is saying,
it cannot.
4 years degree, then you are done.
No, you cannot, because things are always changing. Kasheku, bari ho right go tsoga ka 6, ka osane bari no o ka tsoga ka 12. Now there are reasons why. There are reasons that are given for why that is. So laws change every single day. Right now, that's why there's the bill. Education. No, kids are supposed to do this and kids are supposed to do that. It's changing what used to be. That's why people are standing up against it. If you don't know about it, then your kids can end up. Your kids can't are forced to go to school no matter what. Now the problem is, because the world is changing, homeschooling is the way that people want to teach their kids anymore, because they feel that, first of all, they can't afford education. So if they can't afford education, I know very successful parents who are doing homeschooling every day. They've got the curriculum at school, but the children have the freedom of being at home, not having an institutionalized way of education, because some kids can't deal with that. The special kids that have special needs and would rather have the attention of their mother, you know, and looking at it actually teaches them how to even use the internet, how to use the computer, how to read for themselves, how to research for themselves. You know, those things are very important. So we need to know what is going on constantly so that we are on par with the changes that are happening in the world.
It's outdated. Your advice maybe to the people who are watching the show, you know, we are talking about making time to read, and you spoke very important issues about the advantage of reading, you know, how you really need to have time for yourself, you know. And I remember last time you spoke that you are your own human resource. You know, not you know, your own money, not currency. No. You know, you spoke about that. No. But then how can you advise someone who's watching the show and say, I'm so busy? Just briefly, what can you say to that person?
You can't be busy for yourself. You can be busy for things that are outside of you. You can be busy. But if you and your soul and your body and your mind are not happy, are not in a state of relaxation, in a state of proper self-comprehension, if hawi penako or no lemutu, even in a relationship, that's why you need to be alone. That's why I get a toilet there. Because go toilet. I don't know who
yeah.
Born, especially how it's a number 2. Yes.
Yeah, relax.
Some things actually start making sense to you. You always need time for yourself. So reading is like that. Because reading gives you that time.
Unfortunately, time is not on our side once again. Obviously, you will come back again.
Yeah.
So let's just pause it there for now. And thank you so much for, you know, coming once again and really, as I've said, honoring us all the time when we invite you. Yeah, thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show. That was On Writing with Onkarabile, a show that aims to promote reading and writing in our communities. Please do not forget to subscribe, to share online. My name is Onkarabile Mokoto, and I'm saying to you, let's meet next time, same place on Share Online.